It's the way to go. Eat a fig, not a pig, let your kindness show. If it's your wig or a jig or a swig, do you dig? Big. It's the way to go. It's Big Fat Vegan Radio.
When something's fat, there's a lot to show. It's gotta be fat to help the movement grow. Making fat loud chat that won't be flat. It's that. And here's our show. It's Big Fat Vegan Radio.
Got that vegan glow, like a drag queen calling Patrick Goudreau. I'm a YouTube vegan cooking up good eating. Veganism makes me glow. It's Big Fat Vegan Radio.
All right, vegans, all together now. When something's fat, there's a lot to show. It's gotta be fat to help the movement grow. Making fat loud chat that won't be flat. It's that.
It's the way to go.
It's Big Fat Vegan Radio.
Hey everyone, welcome to Big Fat Vegan Radio. We're podcasting from East Coast to West Coast to discuss veganism in all of its glory. I am Ben Strothman, otherwise known as Honey LeBronx, everyone's favorite vegan drag queen, and I'm here without Laura Yaz today, vegan writer and entertainment know-it-all. And I don't know if you can hear it from the sound of my voice, but at the moment, I am blonde, and it looks so good, but that has nothing to do with veganism. So, you can check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and seriously, I'm so blonde and so ombre right now, which is Spanish for hungry, but apparently it's hair colorist language for like dark roots, but light highlights. Whatever, I look freaking fantastic right now. So look at Ben Vegan Strothman's Facebook profile photo and super dreamy. It's all I'm saying. With the dark eyebrows, the blonde hair. Anyway, so you can check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube by searching for Big Fat Vegan Radio. And you can also follow along with our show notes at bigfatveganradio.com. And I have a fantastic episode for you today. I'm really excited to talk about this today. We are interviewing Naomi Hiltz and Miles Shane of the upcoming documentary Farming Humans, which is a new documentary that is going to take 12 human volunteers. 4 are going to be meat eaters, 4 vegetarians, and 4 vegans. And basically, they are going to spend 10 days living their lives like farmed animals would live their lives. Let your imagination run wild. And yes, that's basically what you're picturing. Like, they would kill me for saying this, but it's like Human Centipede meets Earthlings meets the real world seasons 2, 4, and 7. Basically, and I'm reading this from their intro, but as the volunteers arrive at the facility, they will be broken down into 3 groups: pigs, cows, and chickens. They'll be tattooed and branded with serial numbers that will become their identities. Each volunteer will be equipped with a camera so that they can document their experience. During the 10 days that the experiment takes place, the human volunteers will undergo the same horrific treatment that factory-farmed animals experience, except at the end of their stay, the humans are set free while the farm animals are sentenced for life. I am so excited to bring the creative team behind this upcoming documentary onto Big Fat Vegan Radio to share about it with you. So here we go. Let's welcome them to the welcome. I'm blonde, so it's hard for me to say simple things. I'm sorry, that's offensive to blonde people. Let's welcome them to the show. Naomi and Miles, welcome to Big Fat Vegan Radio.
Hello.
Hey.
So I mentioned to our listeners that we have a really exciting project to talk about today. We are here today discussing the upcoming film Farming Humans. And today we have from Hiltz Squared Media, we have the producer, Miles Shane, and the director of the film, Naomi Hiltz. Naomi, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I am, you know what? I am wonderful. I am fantastic because I am in a 7 by 8 foot bedroom with plenty of room to move my limbs and move about freely and to choose how I want my day to go. And I'm just really conscious right now of the fact that, like, I have my freedom, I have my mobility. I would love our listeners to learn more about your documentary that you're working on. So why don't you tell them a bit about what Farming Humans is about?
Sure. Farming Humans is a documentary that takes a look at the farm animal industry from a bit of a different angle. So it teaches people about the horrible conditions that cows, pigs, and chickens go through. But what we're doing is taking human volunteers and putting them in cages and treating them as if they're on a factory farm.
Yeah. So they're going to have pretty luxe accommodations, I would assume.
They're not going to be in the lap of luxury.
But at least they'll be movie stars, so,
Oh, yeah, for sure. Some stuff we can't do, what the people are doing to animals, but generally what they're going to be having to go through is living in extremely small conditions where they're not able to move freely, stand up, or sit down very easily. The food they're going to be eating is not going to be first-grade food. They may be tattooed, and Miles can tell us a little bit more about some of the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be tattooed, and it won't be with the number 269. It'll be with a number that they'll be labeled as, branded as. They're going to be pierced. There's going to be no anesthetics. It's going to hurt.
Yeah.
They're going to live in these cages that are man-made. That the cow, the group that falls into the cows, you're going to be standing most of the day, so you better have a strong back. It's the cage will be your washroom, and also if you have to vomit or anything else like that's where you're going to have to do it. So we're going to try to make it
as unpleasant as possible.
So you guys are looking for 6 vegan volunteers and 6 non-vegan volunteers. So you're looking for a cast of 12. I have my own reasons why I think that's an awesome idea, but what made you decide that you want to have people who are vegan and people who aren't vegan?
One of the reasons is what we're probably going to do is if we have 12 volunteers, we're going to be doing 4 vegans, 4 vegetarians, and 4 meat.
Awesome.
And then they'll be categorized where each group, like if you have 3 groups, cows, pigs, and chickens, there'll be everybody in each group because it's a documentary about animal rights and animal cruelty, but it's also a science experiment. Mm-hmm. So every factor has to be even in a certain way, like everything has to start off in an even fashion.
Yeah.
So you got to keep everything very sort of like on an even keel in that sense. So that's the plan. Mm-hmm. What'll happen, we don't know.
Yeah. But
we have to start off like that, and we'll see how everybody reacts. It'll be interesting.
We think that there'll probably be a lot of drama with these 3 groups talking about things and influencing each other. Will the meat eaters go vegan? Will the vegans influence the vegetarians to take it one step further? So there's going to be a lot of drama within the people other than just the external obstacles that they'll be dealing with.
Interesting. I can imagine if as a vegan, if I'm sitting there next to a meat eater and we're like, locked up, I want to be like,
You'll be sitting, you'll be standing, and you'll be right up against that person.
Oh yeah, like I said, lounging, reclining next to this person.
Raising.
I can only imagine the vegans are going to be throwing some shade towards the meat eaters, like, you're really the reason we're here,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I thought
And
maybe the reason for the vegans and the vegetarians and the meat eaters is just to see which is the last group standing and which ones are the strongest. And
yeah, that's interesting. And everybody gets their own personal video camera. It's a video diary, so they can talk about how they feel. And we're also going to get to know, the documentary is going to be intercut with different interviews of the people. We're going to get to know the volunteers and their families, and we'll have doctors, psychiatrists on hand, and we're also going to see a bit of the animal industry as well, like the actual animal cruelty on that end as well. We'll have comparisons.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, I think the big thing is what Naomi's talking about is, sure, we're going to shave them, pierce them, and tattoo them, but also throughout the documentary, we're going to go to their lives and show them as everyday people. We've got one couple that's great. They live in Florida, and they want to do this together, and they're getting married. Actually, they work in backstage at a music festival, and they're going to get married there with all the bands, and then they're going to go do this. So, we're really...
That'll be their honeymoon.
My God.
So we're really going to get to know the individuals. So hopefully our audience, can translate that message that the animals too have families and, are important and shouldn't be killed or tortured.
Yeah. Are you guys having? Are you guys? As soon as I heard about this, I shot my arm up and I'm like, oh my God, me, pick me. I want to do this. And I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, like, I guess in my mind, I still didn't really grasp what the reality is. I got to make that decision in a moment, and then I got to change my mind and be like, yeah, I don't want to. And I'm not really synced up with the reality of what this really is like right now while we're talking for chickens and cows and pigs. And the moment I read a little bit more information about like what people are going to go through for 10 days, I thought, I was like, I don't know. I don't know that I'm made of this stuff. I don't know that I want to risk whatever this is going to do to me, and are you guys having trouble finding people who want to do this, or are people lining up down the block to be like, pick me?
No, we find that there are a lot of people like you who want to do it, but have issues for whatever reason. It's a big thing to do.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that also say that we're not being extreme enough in terms of the abuse and torture that we're putting the people through compared to the animals. Because you say 10 days of, that is 10 days of torture, but the animals, they have it their whole lives.
Yeah.
And so 10 days isn't, some animals have a life of 10 days, unfortunately, but it's a lot of people are saying the other way around, that we're not doing enough, but legally we can only do so much.
I had a conversation yesterday with a guy, and he said, "What do you mean you're not going to shoot me up full of hormones?" They want this to be as extreme as possible and be just like the animals are. So, I mean, a lot of them don't think we're doing enough.
Well, I also think what was that?
We don't want to be sued.
Well, there's that, but I mean, it's just funny how, as you were saying before we started the interview, how there's only so much legally that you can do, because I was saying I'm not going to have any I'm not going to have my fingertips chopped off, which is the equivalent of what the chickens would have done. Their beaks are their fingers, their hands. I'm not going to have my fingertips chopped off. I'm not going to have, the tip of my spine chopped off, which would be what tail docking is. I'm not going to have anything burned or gouged out of my skull, like the cows having their horns and their sensitive horn buds seared out. So I mean, there's only so much you can do, because the law naturally would step in to protect a human from having anything awful like that done. But at the same time, I mean, like, one human, 12 individuals who are consenting and want to have this done, the law wouldn't let you do it to 12 individuals. But billions of animals who have just as hard a time with it, who are just as scarred for life physically and emotionally. I mean, it's almost like if you multiply 1 billion by 0, it's still 0. You know, it just doesn't matter the magnitude of which that suffering is happening out there. It doesn't even equal 12 humans, you know, in the eyes of the law, in the eyes of your average person.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, it's obviously not a fair world indeed, and you know, the reason that we are making this documentary is for a lot of the reasons you're saying. You know, that we're going to try to get the public to be emphatic towards these humans and understand that animals are going through the same thing every single day, and we have to stop what's happening because, you know, I mean personally, I only became involved in the vegan lifestyle a few years ago, and Naomi over here, she has been a vegetarian since she was 9 years old, which is pretty amazing, and I became one because we have these 2 wonderful kids, and I was, you know, I realized that, you know, we were doing something wrong in this society, and this is a terrible thing, and I didn't want to bring my kids up that way.
Yeah.
And that's how I became enlightened.
Yeah, I mean, by putting humans in the roles of the animals, that's how this documentary is going to work. There's a lot of documentaries or shows, different things on animal rights and animal cruelty. We figure maybe we'll get out to a few people that you know, aren't going this route, and by showing them how a human would react to it, maybe that'll, you know, even if we can help change people's minds, a few people, that's a lot. And I mean, the biggest thing is we got to try to change the farming industry, because there's no reason that these animals have to be tortured so much. Like it's not just about eating, like not eating meat. It's also people, if they want to eat meat, I guess it's their prerogative, but they don't. When I was a kid, which was a long time ago, you know, this wasn't the case. That you know, animals weren't going through this amount of suffering to make it more profitable and stuff. Like animals could still live generally happy lives, free, you know, in farms, going outside, eating what they should be eating, that kind of thing. They don't need to be confined. Like I don't even want to go into, like, you guys know obviously all the details of what they go through, but it's not necessary.
Yeah, and also back then, I mean, when farmers were raising their animals differently, the world also had a lot fewer people.
Yeah.
And people were used to eating animals less frequently. Like it was a luxury. It wasn't a staple.
Right, and look how many people are obese, and you know, all these kids are going through puberty earlier because of the hormones in the meat.
Yeah.
And I mean, the animals are obese. Like it's all stuff we've all talked about a million times, I'm sure.
Naomi, I know that you have to run in a moment, but before you do, I just wanted to hear a bit more about some of your other work. You know, you guys, I was reading over, you know, some of your background with Hiltz Squared Media is your company. And it's hard to keep up. It's hard to know where to start with all the different, and it's not all just animal rights, you know, based. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you guys have taken on as projects. But I'm really interested in the film you're currently directing and just finishing up, the Sex, Fame, and Murder, the Luca Magnotta story. For a lot of people, I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, Magnotta? Magnotta. Okay, I'm not going to be so fancy about it. So, Luca Magnotta is a very interesting person to try to describe. I mean, as I believe it, wasn't he like an adult film actor as well? And
he was an aspiring actor. Yeah,
okay.
He wasn't quite an actor. He tried to be.
Okay.
but it never really ended up working out for him.
And he became, we had a name for him, didn't we? He was the something killer, or he was the social media killer, he was known as. And this is the guy, is this the guy who was the cats, the vacuums? Oh, God, this is so hard. Could you tell people a bit about him and why you focused to decided to do a film on him?
Sure. Well, Luca Magnotta is a Canadian serial killer that's going to trial. His trial is actually coming up, I believe, in the fall.
Yeah.
And about a year and a half or so ago, he, I guess there were videos appearing online of different cats being tortured and killed, and that kind of created a certain buzz for him from a lot of the animal rights groups. And then eventually he went on to, allegedly, we don't know for sure because his trial hasn't come up, but allegedly he basically met a person that was in Montreal from Asia, and they met somehow, which we don't know how exactly yet, and he allegedly drugged him and tortured him, and he basically, obviously, and he killed him, and he put it all online. That was the biggest thing, was he filmed the whole thing and put it up for everybody to see. From the research we've done on Luca, because we've done quite a bit on him, it seems that he was trying to get fame for most of his life, trying to be famous, and he wasn't succeeding in the normal way that a lot of people seek fame, and he decided to go another route. And from the research we've done also, Paul Bernardo was one of his idols, and I'm sure everybody's heard of Paul Bernardo, and he had a troubled childhood, and he looked up to somebody that was not so great, and he made some really bad decisions. So that's, our story is a bio on him, his life, his childhood, and sort of the events that led up to his alleged demise.
And now for people who don't know Paul Bernardo, he's also another serial killer. And what is it that what was the connection?
Well, first of all, they both grew up in Scarborough, and they grew up only a few blocks from each other. Paul Bernardo's a lot older than Luca, but when Luca was a child, Paul Bernardo was in the news. Paul Bernardo tortured and killed many women. He was the Scarborough rapist, and he went to jail. And Carla Homolka also, they were together. They got married, and she's living, I think,
she's free now. Yeah.
She's free because she gave up a lot of information on Bernardo. But anyway, so when he was a child, when Luca was a child, Paul Bernardo was in all the media, and he was like an idol in a sense to some who were seeking negative attention. So Luca heard about him. He knew he lived very close to him in terms of proximity, and we think that based on what we know, that this is somebody that replaced a father figure in a sense to him in Luca's, crazy mind in a certain sense. Yeah. So that's where things, and that might have not necessarily happened, but that's what happened, and that's what we know.
I think from our point of view, what's really interesting was the way this all sort of started for us is we were watching CNN, Naomi and I, and we saw Luca Magnotta on TV on a television show. They were showing a clip of a TV show. I think it might have been Anderson Cooper, of Luca on a show called Cover Guy, Search for the Top Male Model. And he was talking about how, he was so good looking and how he should be picked for the show. Yeah. Now, what's ironic is Naomi directed Cover Guy, and I was one of the producers.
So we are wondering, why was our show on CNN? And then we saw Luca, and they were showing Cover Guy because they had found him, and he was all over the news. But we didn't know when we first saw it that, why is our show that we produced on TV? Again, on the news. What did we do?
Well, yeah, exactly. What did we do? We were thinking, oh God, is there a lawsuit against us? When are the police coming to the door? And we realized in between changing diapers at the time that this gentleman Magnotta had been on our show, and now he's up for first-degree murder, and he's running around the country sort of running around Europe, and the cops are trying to get him. And wow, we might have an interesting documentary on our hands because we are the producers. And then talk about fate, talk about weird things, because we've always been, big into animal rights. We met Sia and Shane Barbie.
Yep. I heard an interview with them talking about this guy. It was really fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've become quite good friends of ours, and they were the ones who what did they picked him out.
Well, there was a few animal rights people and groups trying to find out who this cat killer was, even before any of this ever happened. So they were one of the main people trying to figure it out, because Luca wasn't really hiding anything. He was posting stuff. All these videos were available online. Everybody was trying to figure out who was attached to these videos, who this person was, and where was he. So they were big into trying to locate where he was, and he was all over the place.
So they went to an online publication called Negotiation is Over. Camille Marino, I think her name is, and she published an article saying your cat killer is Luca Magnotta. And from there, the Barbie sisters have given us a lot of great guidance on the documentary Farming Humans. They introduced us to the host of it, who is named Simone Reyes, who's a very well-known animal activist. She was in Japan doing the whole thing with
the orcas, yeah.
With the orcas. I mean, you've talked to Simone about this at length. Yeah. She loves animals. She's just, hardcore like that. She works. She's Russell Simmons' sort of right-hand person. She was on his TV show on Oxygen called Running Russell Simmons. So she's really involved. She's going to be a great host. Yeah.
So, for people who want to know more about, actually both, I mean, we're here today talking about Farming Humans, but I think a lot of people are going to be interested in the Sex, Fame, and Murder, the Luca Magnotta story, just because they both have to do, because the former also has to do with, or the latter also has to do with an issue that's near to the animal rights community. So where can people find more information? We'll continue talking about Farming Humans, but Naomi, where can people find more information about the Sex, Fame, and Murder? When is that coming out? You guys are just still finishing it up?
Yeah, we're finishing it up. I have to get going, but Miles can answer that if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
About that stuff. But it was nice talking to you guys.
Yeah, Naomi, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show.
Oh, no problem. And Miles,
okay, I'll take it away.
Okay.
So Miles, first, of course, how people can find more information about it and check out your work, but also how people can, if there's anything people can do. We'll go into how they can help with farming humans, but how can people help out? Spreading the word about the Sex, Fame, and Murder as well.
Well, basically, it's been already sold to seven major networks across the world. It's going to be in about 60 countries. Mm-hmm. We don't have an air date as yet. We know that some are going to wait until the trial's over, and some probably will air this fall. You'll be able to see it in Canada and the United States. Keep your eyes open. We're going to be releasing a website very shortly that will be telling you everything and more that you need to know. Actually, what's interesting about the Magnotta documentary is because it was this thing became international. Interpol was involved in it, police all over the world. We shot over 200 hours of footage, which is crazy. Usually a documentary has maybe like 20. So we are actually producing another documentary on Luca called the Magnotta Files, mm-hmm. which is going to be a lot of the stuff that you never saw on TV that the networks thought was a little too racy.
Yeah.
So there will be a companion piece coming out. So that's how much information there is on this man.
My God. And I mean, I don't know, it's just so ridiculous to me that, like, we're even having this conversation about a person who, like, yeah, I want to be famous, I want to be well known. Well, I can't do it through proper channels, so you know what? I'll get the world talking about me one way or another. It's just,
Yep.
it's so disappointing that a life of potential, you know, went down such a horrific path and decided, I mean, yeah, I want to be famous, I want to be well known, but I don't have the right to involve other people unwillingly in my rise to fame. Unless, of course, you count all the captive audiences where I'm like, you guys want to hear another number? When I'm on stage and they clearly don't want to hear another number, but then I'm like, well, you're going to hear one anyway. So, me abusing a captive audience as a drag queen with a microphone in her hand, I don't know, doesn't quite have the same weight. But, so back to farming, I keep wanting to call it farming animals, and it is more specifically farming humans. It's just such it's hard to even say it because the thought of what the, you know, it reminds me when I first went vegan, one of the thoughts that I had was I wanted to make a video with, like, a lawyer sitting next to me and, like, all right, this is my living will and testament. Here is what I want to happen when when it's my time to die. I want to be strung up by one leg and I want to have my throat slit and blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to be on camera having my family and loved ones hear what I wanted done with my remains. And not just when I'm dead, but, like, once I know I'm about to die, in my last moments of consciousness, here's what I want to have done to me. Just so that people who love me would have to hear and contemplate what would be done to me, and they'd have to deal with that reality. They'd have to deal with their feelings about that. You know, their feelings, which would obviously be along the lines of, no, oh my God, this is terrible, this can't happen, you can't put yourself through this suffering. So it's really such an incredible idea. So how can people, let's say someone like me, for example, who really wants to be a part of it, but is like, I just don't know that I am made of that stuff to put myself through 10 days of hell. How else can people support your work?
Right. No, that's a good question. We have a Facebook page that I'm going to right now. Let me just go to it. If you go onto Facebook and you type in farming humans, you will see something come up saying farming humans May 2nd to August 29th. And when you click on that link, it'll take you to our Facebook event page. And on the event page, it'll tell you how you can donate funds to the project, and if you're interested in being a volunteer, how you can email me, and I will, basically try to help you out and guide you in the right direction. In terms of volunteers, as Naomi mentioned, we're getting a lot of vegans who want to volunteer. We haven't got a lot of meat eaters right now who want to volunteer, and I've had some very interesting discussions with them online and so forth, and they don't like me very much.
Well, let's see. So, do you have any meat eaters who want to volunteer?
Not at this point. They say, well, humans aren't the ones. So what's this going to prove? And I try to explain it to them, but they just say this is stupid. They don't get it. They're not comprehending why, we're doing this, and hopefully, I know we'll be able to get 3 or 4 people, but it's going to take a lot of social media, and it's going to take a lot of just push to try and convince them.
Now, what about vegetarians? Do you have vegetarians yet who have signed up to do this?
We have a lot of vegetarians that are interested. We've only picked 4 volunteers at this point. Mm-hmm. As I mentioned before, 2 of them are a couple from Florida in the music industry. One of them is a black gentleman who's a writer who's also gay. So he's fascinating to listen to because he's had to deal with racism and all sorts of, horrible comments and mistreatment his entire life for more than just, being a vegan. And our fourth model, her name is Dahlia Saint, and she is a vegan model. Mm-hmm. So, we thought that would be a nice touch, adding a model, because once they get stripped down and they're going through this, how are they going to look?
Yeah. And so one of the thoughts that I had, I mean, I really can't stress enough, as soon as I heard about this project, I forget who I was with at the moment, but I was a friend of mine. I told him about it. I'm like, I'm going to be in a movie. I'm going to do this. And then I read it and I was just like, I don't know that I'm ready to be shirtless on camera. I just don't know. And then I thought, if I were going to do this, I better get a trainer and bulk up so that I'm stronger and able to, I mean, it's really going to be a test of endurance as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the things we've thought a lot about is, we're going to have 12 people, but what if they all drop out the first day?
Yeah.
What if they can't handle it? Do we really need 20 volunteers?
Yeah.
Do we need 30 volunteers? How many people do we really need that are going to be able to go through this for 10 days? So we're still struggling with that concept of, because if someone wants to leave, we can't keep them there, right? We don't want anyone to have to get hurt or deal with any, God forbid someone has a heart attack, they're not staying in the cage.
Right.
So what do we do? And, they go home. And other people, if psychologically they can't deal with it or physically, they go home. I mean, the animals don't get to go home. We know that, but, we're also a production. We also have production insurance, and we don't want to go to jail. We just want to make a point.
Yeah.
So
it kind of reminds me, this is a total aside. I've been pretty open on the podcast about being a person in recovery, and I once went to speak at Rikers as a guest speaker. And
sure.
Funny enough, for whatever reason, they brought me to speak at a women's meeting on Rikers. So attendance has been low. Attendance has been low. We're gonna try something, and here this devastatingly handsome man walks in, and all these women. It was like being an extra on Orange Is the New Black, but it was an awesome meeting, and we had a great talk. And then it was time. It was over, and one of the women said to me, she's like, "Yeah, you get to leave. You get to go home." And at that moment, I mean, I can't. All the gates that were locking shut behind me on my way into the meeting. I mean, the further I went into where these women lived, the more keenly aware I was of how shut in I was. Whenever I watch a prison movie or I see someone in a jail cell, I don't know without the benefit of ever having been in prison myself, I look at these jail cells in a movie and I always think, if I wanted to, I could get out of there. I could break up. But once you're actually in there, when you're actually in there, you're like, oh, I am but a mere carbon-based life form. There is no way. They've got me. There's no way I could escape. And at the end of this meeting, just being told oh yeah, you get to leave, I was so grateful for my freedom. This is after an hour, by the way. And I left there and I got back to Manhattan, back to what I used to consider my tiny little apartment. I remember I just stood at an intersection. And I just got back from Atlanta this past weekend. My roommate and I went down there to visit his family. And, I was just looking at the sky and how much space there is. I mean, in New York City, if you want to see the sky, you have to crane your head upwards and look directly over you because that's the only sky you're going to see.
Yeah.
You try to look to the horizon and it's all obscured by buildings. And here, this is such an aside, I apologize, but we were driving down the freeway and looking right in front of me is this huge open blue sky with these gigantic, majestic clouds, and it really looked to me like the opening to heaven. And after getting out of prison, I was standing on the intersection by our apartment, and I'm looking up at the sky, and I'm just like, oh my God, all this open space, the big open sky. I was so grateful for what I had, just getting out of, and I wasn't even tied down, confined. I mean, I was sitting in a nice, comfortable folding chair, pretty comfortable in prison, but it really took having that freedom taken away from me, having that space and that freedom to go and do what I want taken away from me for just an hour to really be grateful for what I have.
Yeah, I mean, and, bringing it back to farming humans, when those people, get to leave after 10 days, they're going to be pretty grateful for what they have, and hopefully our audience will realize the animals don't get to leave.
I mean, I think even for those people who can only tolerate this, I'm really imagining this is going to almost. I'm imagining something almost like on like the movie, on like the TV show Survivor or something like that, where you're going to have people who make it to the end and then people who don't. But even the people who I can just imagine there's going to be a meat eater volunteer who has to tap out a couple hours into this. I mean, that person is also going to be changed. It's like, oh yeah, if you couldn't handle it for 10 days.
Right.
And if these people are free to tap out or free to go at any point, I can't imagine who is going to make it to 10 whole days. I mean, if you can choose to leave, why would you stay, I don't know. It's just such a great question to ask, and I can't wait to see. It's awesome to me that right now you and I are talking about something that hasn't happened yet. And one day someone listening to this interview will be like, oh my God, I saw that movie. I can't wait to hear an interview about it. Like someone else listening to this right now in the future already knows how it ends, already knows the outcome. But I almost wonder which is the better outcome, to have a movie full of people who are like, oh, the point was you get people to stay for 10 days. No one's going to stay for 10 days because who would? Especially someone who is not a vegan, who isn't out to prove anything, who is immediately like, oh my God, I can't handle this.
Well, I was talking to a woman a few days ago, and she lived in a small town. She was about 50, and she was adamant about becoming a volunteer. And she said to me, but I got to be a cow. I'm not great at sitting, but I can stand for long, long stretches of time. And, she was like, I have to be a volunteer. I run our local, animal welfare. This is me. This is what I want to do my whole life. I don't know if she can make it. I mean, personally, I don't know. But she was damn positive she wanted to do it. So I think a lot of the vegans out there that I've talked to, they feel this is nothing. They feel this is such a small price to pay.
Yeah.
Because the animals, like we said, they don't get to go home. They die at the end of this. They're born. They're born to die for human beings, plates.
Yeah.
So a lot of these vegans are very serious and take that attitude. At least that's the attitude they're coming at us with. When the situation actually presents itself and reality sets in, that may be a different story.
Yeah.
But right now they're full of zest, and it was funny. I was put some ads on Craigslist, and this girl, I was looking for people to help fundraise. So this girl gets back to me and says, I have a few questions about volunteering, and she has 16 questions. Will her hair be chopped off? What kind of tattoo will she get? Will it be a henna tattoo? Blah blah blah. And I said to her, oh, I was looking for someone to help fundraise. I didn't know you wanted to be a volunteer. So everybody wants to volunteer. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, for those who, first off, for those who do want to volunteer, let's just ask that. For those who are,
Sure.
whether they're meat eaters or vegans or vegetarians.
Sure.
Is there still an open casting call? Should people bring a headshot and sing an up-tempo song or prepare a monologue? Or, will there be a tap number involved? I'll kill it at the dance audition, I know.
If you want to volunteer, basically, we send in a bunch of shots of you sort of in your natural environment. If that's eating a steak or if that's playing with chickens or whatever defines you, then what we usually ask is write a paragraph about why you're a meat eater, why you're a vegetarian, why you're a vegan, what has made you that way, and then write us another paragraph about why you want to be on the show, what makes you want to do this documentary, and then one of our producers will call you and we'll talk to you some more. Now what I should say is we may have a stack of papers we're going through and emails, but essentially before anybody can come on the show, they're going to have to go through a psychological examination and a physical examination. I mean, if you're taking heart medication or, there's something wrong, you're not coming on. And that's not that, we don't want to be fair to people. It's just, we're not going to take a chance with anyone's life.
Yeah, absolutely. That I get. So for those who probably, I'm sure during this interview, we had a lot of people who were like, I want to do this. And by the end of this interview, they're like, yeah, not so much. So the not so muchers, they still want to help. They still want to get involved. What can other people do to help spread the word and just to help out?
Well, I mean, if you want to help out and try to help, raise funds, go to our Facebook page and share it with everyone and hopefully they'll sign up, and either they'll want to be a volunteer or they'll want to donate. And you can even donate $2. I mean, there's no limit. You don't have to donate the entire budget. You can just donate, a few bucks if you have it.
Yeah.
You don't share, whatever means of whatever you could do. There was a movie, and I'm sure you've heard of it, called Earthlings.
Yes.
Which it's a huge fan base. And, I've talked to the people who made it, and I've been on their site, and they have like 50,000 hardcore fans. If you know them or know how to get to them, tell them, hey, we're making a movie that's, we're trying to make similar points. So, whatever you can do. If you are interested in being on the show as a volunteer, you can email me personally. That's Miles, Myles, at Hiltz, HILTZ, 2.com. And something else I'm really interested in knowing. I mean, we haven't filmed yet. We have a basic set of rules that we want our volunteers to follow, but if anyone has any other ideas as to how to treat the volunteers in terms of animals that isn't breaking the law, we'd love to hear them too. People say we're not being harsh enough. Well, what could be harsher that's legal? I mean, these animals, they get hit, they get punched, they get thrown against things. The list goes on and on. I mean, we're not going to be doing that to people, but are there other things that the audience would like to see, that the volunteers would like to see, that's possible?
One thing I think that might, and I'm sure this is probably already going to happen just by virtue of them going through this experience together. Excuse me. But one of the things that I think people perhaps don't consider as much, like, okay, if I had to, I would rather be tattooed, be confined, eat, garbage, and endure pain than have to watch someone I care about go through that. And, the fact, we focus so much on what happens to the individual animals, but the fact that they are literally, like, when you're watching another pig, another pig is being castrated or having its tail cut off or its teeth cut out, you're standing there helpless watching it happen. And I assume that, these people being forced to watch as it happens to each other, that's naturally a part of it. But, I don't know if, I remember hearing that you're going to be piping in sounds of people hurting as well, so that to recreate that actual environment.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean,
well, one of the other things we're doing is the people that are the volunteers. We're going to be flying in family members, and the family members will be putting up, and they'll be staying in nice hotels, but they'll also get to spend the day around their loved ones. So we're going to see how they're going to react.
Ooh, wow. Yeah. That's that's reason enough for me not to volunteer. Oh my God, I can't imagine my family having to go through that. And it's also reason enough for me to volunteer. It's like, oh, hey, Mom and Dad, here, come on, I'm doing a movie. Your son's made it. It's a big time. You want to come on set and actually see how the star gets treated? Wow. Miles, I wish you guys the best of luck. I can't, I have no doubt that this is going to take off, and this is going to have an enormous impact. This is going to leave a dent on the planet, I swear to God. And I know that this is going to lead to more and more people adopting a plant-based lifestyle. The funny thing about, I was talking to a restaurant last night, one of my favorite 24-hour diners in Manhattan that doesn't have, any diner on a Tuesday night in New York City, for whatever reason, all of their soups are synced up. So like any diner in New York City has a Yankee bean soup on Tuesday nights. Why? I don't know. And on Thursdays, it's a split pea. Why? I don't know. But I asked them, I'm like, well, is there, there's beef broth in it. I'm like, well, couldn't you make it with a veggie broth? And I was telling them, like, look, like, there's no place to go in this part of town and blah, blah, blah. Wouldn't it be great if you had pancakes? Wouldn't it be great if you had such and such? And, oh, wow, I went so far off on a tangent that I forgot my way back from it. Oh, give me a second. I may have to edit myself out here for a second. So I remember where I was going with that. Oh, forgive me, Miles. Give me 1 second here.
Talking about soups.
We're talking about soups. You're saying something right before about well, I may just lop that off. There was a reason I wanted to go into it. Oh well, it'll come back to me as soon as we're saying the next thing, I'm sure. At any rate, long story short, the guy was really open to the idea. Oh well, whatever. I'm trying to go into that without talking about my project. Have you heard of the Veganize My Town project that I'm starting up?
I've probably seen it. I've seen a lot of stuff in the last.
It's going to be a team-based restaurant outreach project and grocery store outreach project. So that basically we're going to send teams out into the community to approach restaurants to veganize and like add vegan options to their menu. And the last point that you were making it made me want to talk about how open the place actually was to the idea. When I approached him with the idea of this, he was like, well, he said I should call the owner, and the owner, he's like, the owner is a young guy. I think he'd be really open to hearing the points that you've expressed today. That's it. I found my way back from the tangent. Damn it. All right. Long story short, what I want, I wasn't trying to make a little plug for my project here, but the common ground that between the two of them is, one of the points that I want to lead with when I approach these restaurants is, hey, you'll notice that like meat eating and dairy consumption are not rising trends. These are not things that like, hey, every day, more and more people are choosing meat. That's not how the world is working. Meat is a given. Dairy is a given. Eggs are a given. And people just automatically ingest these things because that's what people are doing. Right. The rising trend here is more and more people becoming conscious of the suffering and deciding not to take part in it. So we have this like this slow mass exodus that's happening in slow motion until, of course, we get to the day where we have a tipping point and there's a paradigm shift. I've heard it said that, like, it only takes 15% of a population changed before you have a paradigm shift. If we could get 15% of the animal rights community to learn to not be stopped by their feelings, to learn to not let their feelings run the show. If 15% of the animal rights community could learn to be powerful in the face of no, if 15% of us could learn how to overcome activist burnout, we could have a paradigm shift where suddenly, as a movement, we start moving in a new, I'd say, better direction. And I believe, there are the people who watched Earthlings, and that changed them. There are so many people who watched Vegucated, and that's what changed them. There's no possible way that this film is going to be made and be out there without people seeing it, connecting with it, and going vegan. This will make new vegans. I'm 1,000% certain of that. And I'm just so grateful that, here's how my limited thinking works. When I always use the Blair Witch Project as an example. As an artist, whenever I see a new piece of art, and when we're talking about art here, I'm talking about the Blair Witch Project. Whenever I see something new that I never would have thought of, I'm like, oh my God, why did I not think of the Blair Witch Project? I should have made this movie. Well, that's it. The last original thing has been thought of. From here on, everything else in the world will be imitation. Why did I not think of this? I should have made that. And then the next original idea comes out, and I'm like, oh my God, why did I? But, like, I'm hearing about this, and I'm like, well, that's it. The last original idea has been tapped. Why didn't I think of this? Why haven't they done this before? Because to me, this is just that brilliant. And this is something that has just never, to my knowledge, ever been attempted before, and it's going to have such an impact because it's literally, this is, what's the verb I'm looking for when you, it's blazing a trail. This is blazing a new trail that has never been worn before.
Yeah, I mean, we hope that it can make a difference. I mean, I guess I'm sort of I believe in things change slowly. I mean, black people in America were slaves, but eventually they became free. Now there's a black president. Gay people have a lot more rights in the world now than they used to. I mean, we've come a long way. Women can vote, So I think everything has to start somewhere. There has to be a tipping point. But what I tell people is, I believe I don't believe in this generation, at least, that the animals are going to go free. But I do believe we can at least make their lives better while they're living it. We can stop the violence. But I think our children and our children's children, they have to be brought up in a fashion where the brainwashing has to stop. They have to be brought up and know that, McDonald's, those things called hamburgers, those are cows.
Yeah.
Might be called hamburgers, but those are cows who have a soul and who have eyes and a heart. And those things called Big Macs, they're cows. They can call them whatever they want, and they can use their fancy phrases like Whopper or, whatever they call them. But when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it all, we're eating things that have faces, and that's wrong. And if we can install that in the next generation, when they're young, then we can make a difference. Because that brainwashing for me, when I was a kid, it started when I wanted to go to McDonald's because my friends went there, and I didn't know those were cows. Those were hamburgers to me.
Yeah.
That's it. So if we can educate, we can make change.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Miles, thank you so much for sharing this with our listeners today, and just for the work that you're doing, and for reaching out and sharing this with me and offering to share this with our listeners. I know that they're going to be really excited about this, and And yeah, we'll make sure to share the links in the show notes so people can take a look and see where to go to learn more about this and how to help you guys out with spreading the message and especially with the fundraising as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Absolutely. Thank you, Miles. There you have it. An awesome conversation with two awesome, fantastic vegans. And keep in mind, Miles is someone who, until a few years ago, was not vegan. This just goes to show that every single one of you out there listening who is not yet vegan, every single one of those people out there in your lives who is not yet vegan and not yet getting it, any one of them has the potential to become this possibility for change, to become this possibility of impacting the world and creating a change for animals, both human and non. That just excites me. That gets me out of bed in the morning. The fact that any one of us can make this kind of an impact. Please check out, you can check out their Facebook page. Just check out Farming Humans on Facebook and like their Facebook page. You can also donate to their fundraiser right now. They are trying to raise $80,000 to fund the film. And they've got a ways to go. So if you check out GoFundMe.com and just search for Farming Humans, all of these notes, by the way, will be in the show notes. So just check out BigFatVeganRadio.com as always and look at the show notes for this episode and you'll see them there. But as you heard in the episode, they are still looking for volunteers to be in the film. And I'll say this much. I still have half a mind to do the film. I still have half a mind not to. What do you guys think? Do you want to see Honey LeBronx out of drag in the most non-glamorous of circumstances? I don't know. I don't know if I could do it, honestly. I think it takes quite an amazing, brave human being to be able to do that. So, but I don't know. This might be your chance to be in a movie with me. Who knows? If you want to be in it, I'll be in it too. Whatever. If you are interested, you can email Miles Shane at Miles, that's MYLES, at Hiltz2.com. That's MYLES, in case I didn't say that correctly, at Hiltz, HILTZ, the number 2.com. So if you think you have what it takes and you want to be in this documentary, hit him up and then let me know that you're doing it. And then maybe I'll put my money where my mouth is and maybe I'll be in it. I don't know. I just don't want to like poop on myself in a documentary and then sleep in it for 10 days. I mean, you know, last time I did that, it wasn't pretty and it definitely wasn't film worthy. Anyway, that is all we've got for this episode of Big Fat Vegan Radio today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, we would love for you guys to check us out at bigfatveganradio.com. You can always call us at 315-VEGAN-01. That's 315-834-2601. You can email us at bigfatveganradio@gmail.com. Tweet us at bigfatvegans. And you can YouTube us at youtube.com/bigfatveganradio. Whatever, wherever there is a place to find us, you can find us. We're also on the Instagram and whatnot. And not Pinterest, because we're not Pinterested. So there's that. So basically, let us know what you heard of this episode. And do I have anything to plug? Oh, the day after I post this episode, basically at Baby Grand, I don't know if I've mentioned this now, but you know, you can come see Honey LeBronx every single Monday night from 8:30 to 11 at night at Baby Grand, where she hosts drag karaoke from 8:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. Baby Grand is at 161 Lafayette Street. That's just below Grand Street. And now and then the lovely Madison Marie drops by for karaoke as well, so maybe you'll see her. This is my announcement. I don't know if I've announced this yet. Maybe I have. The last Monday of every month, I have designated vegan karaoke. Last month, we had 15 or 16 awesome vegans all up in the Baby Grand, all up in the Baby Grizzy. And it was amazing. There was actually a moment where there was no one there who was not vegan. It was a really awesome moment. And we were all singing. Some of us were just amazing singers. And then there were some other singers too. That's all I have to say about that. So, yeah, you can always become a member and support us. By the way, And just to clear the air, I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you blame me for. That's from Wicked. But here's the thing. You'll notice that the live show episode video is not up yet. And there are reasons for that. We are doing this show on such a spent, old, exhausted laptop. And I need to come up with a little money to basically upgrade my laptop to the point where I will be able to export video files. It's been a long time since we've been able to make videos, so that's kind of putting the kibosh on our... we still have a Big Fat Vegan movie night ready to upload, ready for our members to watch if you are a member at that level. We still have the live show to upload, which is awesome. Even the editing on it is so awesome. Victoria Moran is so awesome. You get to see like 2 or 3 Honey LeBronx numbers. So like it's so worth watching. But until we need like another $100. Actually, it's gonna be like another $200, but whatever. 100 of us are gonna come out of my own pocket. So we need like another $200 before I can upgrade my computer enough to the point where I can crank out video files again. Let's not even talk about how much I need before I can get a new laptop. That's a different story. So anyway, you can become a member at tinyurl.com/BFVR support. We'll take you right to it. Otherwise, just go to bigfatveganradio.com and click on support us. Am I giving you guys too many URLs? Just go to Big Fat Vegan Radio for everything. It's all there. And click on support us for a list of ways you can help us to do what we do, even some that don't cost anything. But we have awesome incentives and levels of membership for $5 and $10 and $15 and no 15, whatever. I'm tired and it's 5:28 in the morning. And I'm going to go to bed in a moment. I just got to put this up first. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Honey LeBronx. Laura is at Laura Yaz. If you don't know how to spell those yet, then just, I will pray for you. You can also check out Laura's videos at her 3 minutes about a movie. She is youtube.com/Laura Yaz. And you can check out my Vegan Drag Queen cooking show at vegandragqueen.com. You can also buy some of my famous medieval oil. That's at medievaloil.com. And you can actually use it now that allergies are hitting you to reduce phlegm. So just put a couple of drops of it in your OJ or just water and just gargle that stuff and it will help you loosen up phlegm. So yeah, as always, a shout out to our friend Michael Heron. Check him out at michaelheron.com. And you guys, he is uploading so much content to La Facebook right now. Not La Facebook. Well, La Facebook, yes, but also La YouTube. Check out some really awesome videos of him going up on YouTube. Also, check out his Kickstarter. Michael Heron is going all Yoko Ono on your asses, and he's coming out with like a coffee table book based on his recent solo show, Tentative Armor. So you want to check that out. And Kelly Huffine, thanks to her for our... of course, Michael Heron is our theme song, but you knew that already. And Kelly Huffine for our cartoons, our logos, and our artwork. You can check her out at Kelly42Fox, kelly42fox.deviantart.com. And as always, a huge special thanks to our intern, Madison Marie. Do you know what we would do without Madison? Do you want to know what we would do without Madison? Not a whole heck of a lot. We would do what we're currently doing, but not quite as much of it. So that's all we've got for today for Big Fat Vegan Radio. Please subscribe to us through iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. It's extra helpful if you can give us an awesome rating and a glowing review. We are on iTunes and Stitcher and now Swell as well. But also you can review us at theveganlist.com. It's kind of like a vegan Yelp. Check that out. Why not? Review us everywhere you can. Like our Facebook page, write a review about us, whatever. Tell your friends about us. And P.S., if you would like, wherever you are in your area, we've been talking about this, we've not taken any action on it. If you would like to be able to download from our website, or from our Facebook page, to download and print out a little color or black and white flyer that you could print out, run off a couple of copies at Kinko's, if they still have Kinko's or whatever the kids call it nowadays, and like go to your local coffee shops and vegan restaurants and post them and leave a few of them behind. That would so help us get the word out to other audience members, which is how we're going to get the money we need to and increase our member base so that we can actually do things like upgrade our equipment when our equipment sounds like crap. So yeah, if you're interested in doing that, then drop us a line on our Facebook page or email us and be like, hey, I would totally flyer for you guys. Make with the flyers already, and we'll get right on that. So other than that, be sure to let us know what you thought of this episode on our Facebook page. Send us a tweet, leave us a voicemail, or leave us a comment at bigfatveganradio.com. We love hearing from you guys. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Laura. Have a great day. Oh, I forgot one. Oh my God. I can't even believe I forgot this. There's like one more thing I totally forgot to say. And you guys probably know what I'm going to say. So say it with me. 1, 2, 3. Only buy free range eggs. Wait. Oh God, no, that didn't come out right. Backyard eggs are okay if it's Brooklyn. Just go vegan. Just go vegan. All right, you guys, here's the thing. I feel like I haven't given you a surprise fake out ending bonus outtake blooper whatever after the outro song in a while. So as if it wasn't enough to get 10 minutes of post-interview chatter from me and only me with no Laura, I feel like I owe you something. So because I don't have any better ideas right now, I just feel like I'm going to try to give you, totally from memory, I'm going to give you the Music Man's Trouble in River City, just from the top of my head right now. And I'm going to see if I can find a karaoke track to it. And I'm just going to sing it along and see how far I can get without looking at the lyrics. Okay, there are lyrics here on this screen, but I'm going to see if I can do it without the lyrics. Okay, let me see if I can do this. You Got Trouble. It's called You Got Trouble. I didn't even know that much. Wow, I should just stop while I'm ahead. Me? Never. You Got Trouble. Karaoke. And here we go. All right, let me see if this is it. Okay, this is gonna be a ship show, because the only karaoke track I can find is actually from the movie with the vocals scrubbed out. So it's kind of a really crappy audio. But here we go. I'm going to make this work. And a 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, right. Here we go for real this time. And well, you got trouble, my friends. Right here is trouble right here in River City. Why, sure, I'm a billiard player. Certainly mighty proud to say I'm always mighty proud to say it. I consider the hours I spend with the cue in my hand are golden. To have you cultivate horse sense and a cool head and a keen eye. Did you ever take and try and give yourself an ironclad leave from yourself from a 3-rail billiard shop? But just as I say it takes judgment, horses who need to score in a ball-line game, I say that any boob can take and shove a ball in a pocket. And I call that sloth. The first big steps on the road to the depths of degradé. I say first it's a little medicinal wine from a teaspoon, then beer from a bottle. And the next thing you know, your son is playing for money in pinchback suit. And listen to some big out-of-town Jasper hearing him talk about horse race gambling. Not a wholesome trotting race, no, but a race where they sit down right on the horse. Like to see some stuck-up jockey boy sitting on Dan Patch make your blood boil? Well, I should say. Now, friends, let me tell you what I mean. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pockets at a table, pockets that mark the difference between a gentleman and a bum with a capital B and that rhymes with P and that stands for pool. Now, I know all you folks are the right kind of parents, and I'm gonna be perfectly frank. Would you like to know what kind of conversation goes on while they're loafing around that hall? They'll be trying out Bevo, trying out Q-Bads, trying out tailor-mades like cigarette fiends. Damn it. Fuck. No, I messed it up. All right. I'm on the wrong. no, I know all you folks are the right kind of parents. I jumped the verse. So I'm going to be perfectly frank. I was early. Would you like to know what kind of conversation goes on when they're loafing around that hall? They'll be trying out Bevos, trying out Cubats, trying out tailor-mades like cigarette fiends, and bragging all about how they're going to cover up a telltale breath with Sen one fine night. They leave the pool hall, headed for the dance of the armory, libertine men and scarlet women, and ragtime. Shameless music that'll drag your son, your daughter, to the arms of a jungle animal instinct masteria. Friends, the idle brain is the devil's playground trouble. Right here in River City. With a capital T and that rhymes with P and that stands for something. Pool. We surely got trouble. Right here in River City. Gotta figure out a way to keep the young ones moral after school. Our children's gonna have trouble. I forget the speech here. Heed the warning signs. When your friends go out to eat, do they ask for a restaurant where everyone can eat something? Do they say they don't like vegan food? Do you try reminding them things like bananas, apples, peanut butter and jelly, that all these things are vegan food, and that your friends are just, after all, a bunch of hypocrites and are just afraid to try something new? Well, if so, you got trouble. We got trouble right here in River City. With a capital T and that rhymes with P and that stands for pool. We surely got trouble. Right here in River City. Gotta figure out a way to keep the young ones moral after school. Our children's gonna have trouble. Oh, we got trouble. We got terrible trouble. That game with the 16 numbered balls is the devil's too. Oh yes, we got trouble. With a T. Gotta rhyme it with P. That stands for Pool! Mrs. Pool from the Hogan's family. I'm sorry, was that as embarrassing for you as it was for me? Because it was for me. Bye!